Okay, hello everybody. Welcome to my YouTube channel and thank you so much for being here with me today for my very first YouTube video. My name is Lily and I am a lover of all things planning, journaling, fancy fountain pens and stationery in general, I guess. In fact, I have been active in the stationery and planner community for quite a while now. I am lily.plans over on Instagram if you happen to know me from there. And yeah, it's been very fun connecting with all those lovely planner people from all around the world, but quite honestly, throughout the years, Instagram kind of lost its magic for me, and I have been dreaming of joining YouTube as well for what feels like the longest time at this point. But yeah, I think I just never really had the courage to start. I am a pretty shy person in real life. I don't feel very comfortable talking to people, especially about myself, let alone in front of the camera. And also I am just a little bit self-conscious when it comes to my accent as well as my English in general. Not that I would ever judge anyone's accent. I actually think accents are very beautiful, but for some reason it always bothers hearing my own and I cringe very hard every time I speak. So all that to say is this does not come very easy to me, and I am very nervous, I guess. So please bear with me, I guess. Anyway, for my first video, I thought it would be a good idea to do a Techo Kaigi, reviewing what planners and journals I've been using in 2025, reflecting on what worked and what didn't work, what changed, what wants and needs I have for 2026, and then finally what I at least intend on using for the next year. As we planner people all know, what we intend to use for a year often differs quite a bit from what we actually end up using, but yeah, these will at least be my initial plans, so let's get into this. Now, if you've been following me over on Instagram, then you will know that I have been in the Hobonichi Techo original, so it's the smaller A6 version, for years at this point. Actually, I took out my 2022 version just to show you as a comparison, and this was my everything all-in-one planner and journal. I typically use the front pages with sticky notes just as a inbox type of situation, and then I did my habit tracking in these yearly type of spreads. And normally or usually I didn't really use the monthly pages because I didn't really needed them, but I really lived in the daily pages. So what I typically did was I scheduled my day on the left hand side, and then I added a high priority to-do list on the top and a lower or maybe priority to-do list down below, and journaled around whatever space was left. And as you can see, sometimes there wasn't really any need for scheduling, so I just added a to-do list and called it a day. And then I usually came back in later and journaled around it or doodled stuff in, and yeah, it worked very well. I just never really tried to establish a system. I just tried to do whatever feels right on any given day, and it was a very flexible system. As you can see, sometimes I just left them blank whenever there wasn't really any need for planning. Sometimes whenever I needed to de-stress, I just came back in a later day and filled out the blank pages with whatever I wanted, so doodles or journal entries. So this worked out great. I think I also started using tip-ins at some point whenever I needed some extra space or some more spreads, like this was a monthly spread. And I started memory keeping in form of doodles. So this was the day where we found a shiny Rosalia in Legends Arceus, which was very exciting. So yeah, I think I also started adding more kind of elaborate sketches into here whenever there was time, and yeah, this worked out great. In fact, it worked out so great that I have been doing pretty much the exact same thing up until pretty recently. So if we take a look into my 2025 book, you can see I still did my schedule on the left hand side, my to-do list on the right hand side, and then journaled around whatever space was left. And yeah, even though there were a couple of experiments throughout the years, and I always had like a sidekick type of Hobonichi Weeks, like this one, I never really left the A6 as my main planner. And yeah, well, as you can see, nothing really changed, except my life changed quite dramatically. So I started at a new job at the very end of 2024, and in 2025 a lot of things happened. Just to name a couple of things, maybe I enrolled in a new master's program because I am a forever student, and also very unexpectedly for me, I became a part-time dance instructor, which honestly I would have never imagined, and I am so incredibly grateful for this opportunity. But obviously it changed my life quite a bit. Now, before that, I was primarily working and studying from home all by myself, but now that I have to communicate with so many different parties, and I am basically constantly on the run, commuting between the dance studio, university, the office, and home, of course, it just has become a lot more challenging to split my attention and resources in so many different directions. I have to keep track of many different types of deadlines, meetings, and appointments now that I felt like a day per page just was a little bit too zoomed in, I guess, and I felt like it didn't give me enough of an overview anymore. And also it was a little bit hard to find the information because obviously if you're dealing with a page per day, you just have to flip through a lot more pages until you find the day that you're actually looking for, as compared to like the weekly overview in the Hobonichi Weeks. And in addition to that, I also started feeling uncomfortable taking out my planner with me, having like all my journal entries in here as well. I guess I was constantly worried that somebody would see and read them, not that anyone around me would snoop. And even if they did, you know, my journal entries aren't that deep, so they would probably just read about me doing laundry or something like that. But still, it just felt weird having it out on the desk for everybody to see. Yeah, as I already mentioned, I also used a Hobonichi Weeks throughout the years as a companion book to my A6. And this was usually my functional on-the-go work type of planner, just to get me a weekly overview, and I added in all the necessary information I needed when I was out and about, and then continued to use my A6 as my nitty-gritty daily breakdown and task manager. I usually came in the morning and just brain dumped everything I needed to get me a little bit of more clarity and focus. And this worked out great in the beginning. However, there were a couple of instances where I just needed the information that I was brain dumping in here, that was sitting all cozied up on my desk while I was out and about. And yeah, so in the beginning I started taking pictures of my daily pages with my phone, but I kind of felt ridiculous doing that. So in July, I think I moved all my functional planner stuff, so all my tasks, appointments, project lists, into my Hobonichi Weeks, and now my A6 serves more like a live log, I guess you could say. Sometimes when I'm really still very overwhelmed and I just need some space to brain dump, I still use this one to map out my day, but usually I now come in the morning and fill out the page of the day before, still keeping kind of a similar aesthetic, doing my timeline of events, but this time I'm tracking rather than forward planning. And then on the right hand side I just add whatever I did or was thinking on any given day. I have a very bad memory, so this helps me to live a little bit more intentionally. And also this practice has kind of a similar function as to say morning pages, because I usually don't like doing morning pages. They give me kind of anxiety spikes, but this way I still get the feeling of a closure, so I can have a fresh start in the morning. And I usually do it while I'm having my first cup of coffee. It's usually when I'm still in the process of waking up, so it's not like I could do anything more productive with my time anyway. And this is very easy to maintain for me. It maybe takes me like 10 minutes to fill out the page, and I'm having a lot of fun. And as I said, I moved in all my functional stuff into the Hobonichi Weeks. Unfortunately, I can't really show you much because I never intended on sharing this on the internet, but as you can see, I still end up doing a little bit of doodling sometimes, but it's just much more minimal compared to my little A6. Basically, what I think happened was that I kind of outgrew the A6, so I either had the option to get a bigger planner or I just start to compartmentalize. And again, that was something I was craving anyway because I wanted to separate my journal from my planning. And yeah, and also I just didn't want to buy new stuff. I really wanted to use up what I already had and just tweak on the system, move things around to see what works. And yeah, so this is what I landed on, and I'm not gonna lie, I don't hate this. At first I thought that the weeks was kind of awkward to use, you know, constantly flipping from the monthly to the weekly to the dailies in the back, but after some time getting used to it, I ended up really liking it. But because I was using a regular sized Hobonichi Weeks, I felt like I couldn't put like my whole life in here because of the limited space. So I had to be a little bit more mindful of what type of information I can put in here and what type of information I can leave at home. But it turned out that I needed to carry around a lot more information than I initially thought, and also there were many moments where I just wanted to take notes or brainstorm while I was out and about, but I didn't want to put the stuff in here again because of the limited space, and also because for some reason I didn't want to put ugly chicken scratches in my planner. So I was also thinking about how I could supplement this planner with a notebook that could hold all types of information that is not directly relevant to my plans, goals, or projects, but that was still small enough for me to carry around with me everywhere. So yeah, I landed on a pocket or mini 6-size ring bound planner, mainly because I already had all the supplies at home. Again, I usually don't like to buy new stuff rather than look at my collection and see if there's anything that could fit my needs. And yeah, I usually switch around planner covers when I'm in rings bound systems, but this specific one is from Plotter, which a friend of mine very kindly gifted to me. So, you know, there was also a sentimental incentive to start using this because it reminds me of her and of the fact that I have wonderful friends. But regardless of that, I think this has served me very well. So I guess you could call it a pocket notebook or a commonplace book, in a sense that I put in all kind of information that I find useful or interesting, but is not necessarily needed for my plans or projects. For example, whenever I go to conferences or I am attending a workshop, I usually take notes in here. I also do some planner brainstorming in here. I write down my choreographies whenever there is a need to create a new one or to memorize one. And I take notes on YouTube videos that I watch. I collect quotes. So yeah, it's really just a place for me to put in all my random thoughts and notes. And I think what I found out this year is that yes, technically I could capture all this information in one space, say for example in the back pages of the Hobonichi Weeks, but personally I just prefer having them separated because it helps me to find that information a bit easier. And also I really started to appreciate the ring bound system for this specific type of note taking, because you know, the beauty of rings is that you can reorganize your different pages and have all the information of one specific topic in one neat little bundle. So I can have all my dance notes together, my conference notes together. And also I found this system kind of freeing in a sense, because, you know, I just do not care about these pages at all. I really do not care about how my handwriting looks in here or if the information I put in here is relevant or not, because, you know, there isn't a finite amount of pages, so it doesn't take up space really. So I just feel like there's less friction overall to put in like the most random stuff in here. I also use a ballpoint pen, so it's very convenient, and also because this one is a plotter, it has only 11mm rings, so it's super slim. It's very easy to write in there, and even together with my Hobonichi Weeks, it's a very slim profile, so I can take these two pretty much everywhere with me. And yeah, so I am very glad that I discovered this, even though it was by sheer coincidence. So yeah, I think these three notebooks I would consider to be my main planner and journal lineup for 2025. I also have a couple more notebooks that I will take out on the occasion. For example, I usually take a traveler's notebooks with us whenever we're traveling, and I also keep a super ugly commonplace book, which yeah, just holds all my notes. But yeah, these ones I really just take out whenever there's a need to update them. But these ones I would say I update on a almost daily basis, even though the plotter doesn't hold anything date specific. I still end up in here pretty much every day, and this system worked out very well. It was super effortless and very easy to maintain, so I don't see myself doing any big changes to that, you know. If it ain't broken, don't fix it. So I will be using the A6 for my morning pages type of live log, my Hobonichi Weeks as my one and only planner, and then a catch-all notebook in forms of a ring bound system. I just decided to do a couple of small tweaks. For one, I decided to pick up a Hobonichi Weeks Mega, which you can see I already started setting up because I started doing the Lindsay Scribble style daily logs in the back, and 70 pages was kind of okay because at the start of the year I was still using my A6, but within the past couple of months I already hit like page 50 or so, so the Mega's probably a better fit. And secondly, I started adding the supplemental notebooks in the back, which I intend to use for work notes, just to get a little more work-life separation. I usually don't separate, like I don't use a work planner because my work is quite intertwined with my personal life as well, so it usually all ends up in here, but there are some things I just don't want to see on weekends, and this kind of information I will put in here. So no big changes when it comes to this. However, I decided to add a couple more journals because I was reflecting on my goals for 2026 and thinking about whether or not there were any type of additional journals that could, you know, support me on that journey. And one of my main goals for 2026 is to take better care of myself. I think 2025 was a very successful year for me when it comes to my career as well as my education. However, it was also an extremely exhausting and busy year, and I have to admit that I have definitely neglected my mental and physical health, as well as my personal life in general, I think. I suffered from 2 injuries, and I was really struggling with insomnia. And when it comes to my academic career, I think I was at the brink of a burnout. If you ever worked within the academic field or ever tried to climb up that career ladder, you probably know how hard it is to establish a healthy work-life balance. But yeah, I just realized that I really had to take a step back, and just because I'm personally interested or passionate about something doesn't mean that it isn't work, and basically that I need to schedule in more fun time. This leads me to these 2 notebooks, both of which are from Hobonichi as well. Now, there are many reasons as to why I decided to stick with Hobonichi for the next year. Obviously, there are aesthetic reasons, but also I used to live in Japan. I was an exchange student, and it was the most magical time. And this was also the year where I discovered Hobonichi. So these notebooks hold a lot of sentimental value to me, and also I really enjoy the quotes down below. I know it's a very controversial topic within the Hobonichi community, but to me it's like a weekly reading practice, so I really enjoy them, and I like how weird they are sometimes. It just reminds me of a very good time. And yeah, also maybe because of that, I'm also kind of in a unique position in a sense that considering all the options, these planners are still like the most easily accessible to me, as well as the most affordable actually, which I understand is kind of a privilege to say because these planners aren't cheap, but we are in Japan quite frequently for work as well as for just traveling. We have lots of friends and found family over there, so we are usually in Japan every other year at the minimum. So I usually pick up all my stationery and planner stuff over there. So yeah, that's also a consideration I did. So obviously there are very pretty and amazing boutique planners, which I, not gonna lie, am kind of tempted to try out, but these ones are just overall less stressful and easy for me to just get. But yeah, anyway, back to planner talk, I guess. So I have always been intrigued by the idea of using a Hobonichi Weeks as a journal, and when I saw that there was going to be a collaboration with Junji Ito, I kind of lost my mind. And as it turned out, the whole internet lost its mind over this collection. But yeah, for me personally, I really resonated with this cover, not only because I am a big fan of horror. Horror is probably one of my favorite genres, and I love Junji Ito, but also, I have recently gotten into anime and manga, which is kind of surprising, honestly, but it's kind of a shared hobby of my boyfriend and I, and it has been pretty much one of the best things I have done for my mental health in a very long time. I just think there's something very nostalgic and cozy about the format for me, and also I get a little bit of listening practice as well, which is very nice, and it's very easy to digest and consume. Obviously, you can find very thought-provoking, deep, and very intelligently written narratives in anime as well, of course. But personally, I really enjoyed the evenings where my boyfriend and I just cuddled up in bed and watched a trashy slice of life over the top anime. It was so freeing and so fun, and I think I realized that it just doesn't have to be a Dostoevsky type of novel all the time. Sometimes, it's just nice to have a little bit of brain off time. All that to say, I am planning on using this week's as a media journal. Now, I haven't decided yet whether or not I will be using this as intended, meaning as a dated planner, or if I just completely ignore the dates and just fill it out whenever there's something to write about. I think I will figure it out along the way and just see what future me needs and wants to do. But I am pretty sure that I will fill this out either way and will continue to use it in the years to come in the back pages, because I just really want to fill this one up. So yeah, that's that. And then finally, the big boy, the Hobonichi Cousin, which I will call my mandated fun book. Now, as I have already mentioned, I really want to shift my focus towards more relaxing activities, things that are related to my hobbies and things that bring me joy, that I do for nobody else but for me. And I guess there are lots of my hobbies that can be done on paper. As you probably can tell, I really like journaling, I like commonplacing, I like to play with fancy fountain pen inks and all that stuff, but I think one of my first hobbies ever was drawing. I have been drawing since kindergarten, I think, and I also started painting pretty early on. However, the older I got, the less and less my sketchbooks have been filled out. And yeah, I guess I just really want to reconnect with that hobby again. I usually use these moleskin sketchbooks. I have been buying them for well over a decade at this point, and I can show you a little bit of what it looks inside. It's nothing surprising, honestly, it's just sketches and random studies. I normally don't really like to share my drawings on the internet because I think they are very personal and also quite embarrassing for some reason, but yeah, this notebook, or sketchbook rather, I filled out after like almost 3 years, I think. So there was a need for a new sketchbook anyway, and I have always thought that there's something quite magical about a everything all in one book, because I also use like this Moleskine expanded as like a commonplace book, and I was thinking about, yeah, combining these two into one big messy type of book. Also, I thought that maybe the dated book prompts me to come back on a more regular basis, and I can just combine all my long form journaling, commonplacing, drawing all into one book as kind of a form of memory keeping as well. Now, there's another reason why I decided to get a Hobonichi cousin, and that is because I wanted to have something to replace my phone, specifically in the evening. Over the past couple of years, I developed a bad habit of spending all my evening just watching YouTube videos or doom scrolling mindlessly. And yeah, now I try to empathize with myself and understand that this habit probably came from the fact that I usually came back home exhausted and that I didn't have any energy left to do more like creative work and just wanted to shut off my brain for a while. And I think there's nothing wrong with that, you know, winding down, having a good time, but I personally feel like I am at a point where I kind of lose a little bit of control over my media consumption, so I want to commit to a dedicated offline time each evening, and you know, having an A5 book with me that is open on my desk that will prompt me to fill it out each evening might be a good reminder of that goal. And also it reminds me of what I really want to do more of. You know, I always say that I don't really have the time, but if I'm being completely honest, it's not that I don't have the time, it's just that I don't make the time, because it obviously takes a little bit more effort than just brain rotting, I guess. Now, I have to admit that this is kind of an experiment and I do not know if this is going to work out or not. But I wanted to try it anyway. And you know, I try to be gentle on myself, and if it doesn't work out, that's okay too. I call it an experiment for a reason, and if it doesn't end up working, you know, I can always go back to like the sketchbook plus the undated journal. I just don't stress too much about abandoning dated planners anymore, because I am usually pretty good at just repurposing them for other projects. And yeah, so that's it. Just as a quick recap, I will be using my Hobonichi Weeks Mega as my planner, accompanied by a small pocket notebook, which is currently this plotter. And then I will use two more journals, which is my A6 live log, as well as a media journal. And then finally, the big boy, the Hobonichi cousin, which is kind of a wild card in which I just do whatever I kind of want at any given day. So yeah, I know that this probably seems like a lot, probably because it is. And I'm sure that there will be some changes to the plan at some point throughout the year, though I am pretty sure that I will stick to the Hobonichi Weeks as my planner. I am usually not much of a planner hopper. I find it rather stressful to switch planners mid-year, and I'm somebody who rather just stick it out and wait until the next year to switch planners when it doesn't work. But with journaling, it's kind of a different story. I like to experiment with different layouts, paper, pens, all that kind of stuff, and just try to see where my creativity leads me, I guess. Yeah, I am very excited for the next year, and let me know what you're planning on using for 2026, and also let me know if you have any questions or want to see anything in more detail. I will be gladly taking any suggestions for more video ideas, though don't keep me accountable. I do not know how often I will upload any videos. But anyway, thank you so much for watching, and I will talk to you soon. Bye!